Financial maths is difficult because of the vocabulary, because we don't use at secondary school level, we don't use that vocabulary in everyday life. However, you're going to be using that vocabulary when you're an adult, so it's great to know that. Let's see. Michelle must pay universal social charge, which in short is USC, on all of her gross income. And that's what we do in life. What does it mean, gross? Because that's first part. So gross, that means that inside that I have a value net and I have tax. Now, what does the value net, so therefore and gross mean? So net is without tax or before tax, depending how we, or excluding tax. Those are the different expressions that can be used in the exam. And therefore, gross is the value that includes tax, after tax, with tax, so anything but the opposite to that. Okay, the income bands and rates of USC that Michelle must pay are given in the table below. So again, income, that means how much money she is making, bands and rates. So basically is saying that when you are earning money, we're going to tax it in different ways, different proportion, different parts in different ways. So if that is all your income, part of it, meaning up to the 12,012, so this part of your income is going to be taxed at 1.5%. If you earn more, then the next 5,564 will be taxed at 3.5%. And then anything above that, so whatever you earn here, anything above that will be at 7%. Now, together, those two, they come to this value, 17,576. Now, let's say that somebody only earns 10,000. So therefore, it will be only in that first bracket, only 1.5%. It's not going to get into 3.5 or 7%. Okay, so let's see how we work that out in practice. So in the first part, so Michelle pays the USC at all three rates. So now we are told that, yes, she earns this money, and then she even earns more than that 17,576. So she pays all of those. So her all income is divided into parts, and each part is taxed differently. So the first part, we have to find the amount of USC. So we're going to be looking at rates that she pay at the first two. So only we are taking her first 12,000 and we are multiplying by the percentage 1.5%, or we can write that as a decimal, so 0.015, that's the same thing. And we put that in the calculator, any of those, and the value we get 180.18. Now, the second 3.5, that is the next 5,000 out of her wage. So 5,564 multiply either by 3.5% in your calculator, or if you want to change that to a decimal, that will be 0.035. And again, we're going to get from that 194.74. So that part pretty straightforward. Now let's have a look at next part. So Michelle gross income is X. We are not told how much. I don't know. Let's say she is on really good wage. Maybe she's earning 50,000, right? We don't know how much. And then they are saying that she pays a total of 5% of her gross income, so of her X, in USC. She pays 5% of her X income. So if she was earning 50,000, that will be 5% of 50,000. How do we find the percentage of a number? We multiply, isn't it? So that would be 50,000 multiply by 0.05 or multiply by 5%. Now, but we made up that 50,000. We don't know what she earns. What does she earn? X. So let's remove 50,000 and let's put x. And that's what we have to do. We have to write an expression in terms of x, meaning our answer have to include x for the total amount of money that she pays in USC. And that's what it is, 0.05x. That's the expression. Okay, now that wasn't too bad. Next part is a little bit difficult, but we will break it down. So next part is saying, therefore, we have to find the value of x, meaning her gross income. Okay, so the way we're going to do that is that we're going to think about how will that be calculated normally if we knew what the value is going to be. So like we said, let's say that her income is 50,000. Because it's easier for us to think on a specific number. Then we're going to replace that 50 with x because we actually don't know how much it is. But let's consider if it was 50,000. So like we said, the first 12,000. So like what I said, her income is divided into a portion. First portion is 12,100. And we know that will be multiplied by that 1.5%. And we already know the value that will be 180.18, isn't it? Then we know the next part, 5,564. So that 5,564 is multiplied by what? 3.5%, 0.035. And we know that that was 194.74. Then if she was earning 50,000, how do I find the remaining one? So from 50,000, I would have taken away 12,012 euro minus, because we already taxed that, then I will take another 5,564 euro, and whatever is left over, we multiply that by 0.07, by 7%, isn't it? And then we would add up those three values, and this one here as well, and then we will get USC that she has to pay. Now, what do we know about the USC that she has to pay? That is 0.05 of x. Now, what did we do with x? We put 50,000 there. We made that up. So we are saying, okay, if we remove 50,000, because we actually don't know how much it is, but it is x. Well, therefore, we have created an equation. Let's see. Let's put it together now as an equation. So we are saying she pays 180.18. Then she pays the next one, which is 194.74 plus, and then she pays this. And how is this calculated? That's how it is calculated, isn't it? So we're just going to write that. So x minus 12,000. Actually, we know how much is that, isn't it? That's the 17,000. So let's write that. 17. How do we know? Here. Look, don't get lost. Don't get lost on me. That's how we know. Those two together are 17,576. So let's write that. So minus 17,000. What was it? I forgot already. 17,576. 576, and that is multiplied by 0.07, and that is how much she pays of USC, and that is 0.05x. Now, remember, when you have to find the value of the letter, so when you have to tell them letter, any letter is equal a number, you need an equation. You need something that has an equal sign, has two sides, so has values on two sides, and it has that letter involved. And that's what we have. Now we can get it to the place where on one side of the equation we have letter, and on the other side we have number. Or number equal letter, doesn't matter, isn't it? Okay, so let's focus now on that. What can we do here? Where is our x? Because we want x to be on one side of the equation. So here I have x, and then I have x here on this side of the equation. The problem is that this x is in the bracket, and the bracket is multiplied by a number. So first thing, I need to multiply the bracket by this number. So the rest of the numbers, I'm not doing anything with them. Or you can add it up. For example, those two, you can add them up or not. Then we are multiplying 7 by 0.07. So that's just 0.07 multiplied by x. And then we are multiplying that minus 17,576 by our 0.07. And again, like I'm saying, you can put that in the calculator and find the value. And on this side of the equation, I have 0.05x. Okay, so what's the next thing we have to do? Where are we going? X is on one side, numbers on the other. Where is our x? That's where the x is, and that's where the x is. So I want them to be on the same side. So this x have to move and join the other x. So the rest of the numbers, like I'm saying, either I add them up in my calculator or not, depending on you. I'm just going to write them out for you like that so that you can see how the numbers move around in any equation. This side of the equation, I have 0.05x, and now I'm moving that to the other side. What happened when I'm moving a number from one side of the equation to the other side? It changes the sign to the opposite. So a positive will become a negative. Now, we are almost there. So I have x and I have x. Now the question is, how much of x's do I have together? So I have 0.05 and I have minus 0.07. I put that in my calculator and I'm going to get a number that will be standing beside x, isn't it? If we put that in the calculator. Now, again, I'm just going to copy everything to just show you how the numbers move in the equation without changing the way they look. So look at that, everything just copy. So this is the number I'm going to have beside x. Now, that means x is multiplied by this number. I don't need x multiplied by a number. I want just x. How do we eliminate multiplication? By dividing. And dividing both sides of the equation. So we divide this side by 0.05 minus 0.07. That becomes 1. And then we divide this side by 0.05 minus 0.07. Now look at that. This side of the equation we have only x. We have all the rest of the numbers on the other side of the equation without touching calculator. Now when we put that in our calculator and press equal, we get a value. And that value, that is how much she makes. So it's 42,770. That is the value of x. That's how much money she is making.